All right, I think we're at the top of the hour now, or bottom of the hour if you're coming in from other places. Good morning or good afternoon to you, depending on where you are today. All I know is you're with us, and if you are here, you are here. You're definitely in for a treat. Um, we're going to be digging into a bit of the niche and of such as it is of real estate accounting, um, particularly in the era of AI. Um, Today's theme is adapt or fall behind. It's an interesting time in accounting overall. But getting into an area like real estate is something that today's guest speaker, Gita Faust, is very well versed in. So a little bit of background on her coming up. But in today's discussion, we're going to be hitting a lot of different things. So definitely stay with us. Changing landscape of real estate accounting, um, practical use cases of AI, how to use responsibly, building the ultimate tech stack for growth, unpacking QuickBooks Enterprise, that's another, specific, area tool that you would, would definitely use. Features, that pertain to real estate, strategic advantage of hosting QuickBooks Enterprise in the cloud, and at the end, we're definitely going to be able to have a bit more of your questions. But please feel free to ask questions throughout this webinar. Um, so little bit about our guest here, Gita Faust. I'm not going to go through every single bullet point here, but Gita has, a very, unique story, which, I think she'll touch on in a bit. She kind of was, in accounting, in bookkeeping, and, had to practice and really needed to kind of balance out her life. Things happen in life. You want to be able to work and also support your family and deal with life's issues that come your way. So Gita not only was able to do that with her practice, but really dig into and develop a very successful niche in real estate accounting, with all the tools and tricks that go with it. As for me, who's this other talking head here? I'm Seth Fineberg. I founded a content marketing and PR consultancy called Accountants Forward. Why? Because I genuinely want to see the accounting profession move forward. So I work with companies like Ace and some others to help put out content into the market that really develops a better connection to the profession and the folks who are building the platforms and the tools and the services that help you in your everyday life. And then of course our host today, Ace Cloud Hosting. Please stick around towards the end of this webinar. Right at the end, there's going to be a very special offer from Ace, who does everything from application hosting to, more importantly, managed security solutions, desktop service managed IT services, everything in between. Great partner to have. So why don't we jump right to it? Now, we want to just, before we kind of get to, Gita and, all the things that she has to present today, want to get to our first poll of the day, just to get to know you all. So if you want to take a moment, um, we can launch the first poll. We'll kind of get to know our audience a little bit better today. So please click the one that applies to you. If you're a CPA, accountant, bookkeeper, accounting firm owner, partner, again, you might be one of the other, but if you're, an owner or partner, a real estate accountant specifically, that would be cool to know. A property accounting lead, CFO, finance controller, or other. Just want to find out who you all are joining us today. And thank you for taking time out of your day to do so. Leave the poll open for a couple more seconds. Okay, let's have a great reveal here. Find out who is with us today, Gita. Okay, awesome. Mostly, CPAs, accountants, bookkeepers, and we have a couple folks in. real estate accounting as well. Excellent. Pleased to meet you. So, without further ado, Gita, take it away.
Hey. Hello, everybody. Thank you, Ace Cloud Hosting and Seth, for inviting me to share my experiences and ins and out about the industry as much as I can, right? So, of course, we are going to talk what is real estate accounting. When you have a website and you see that white space in between, that's also called real estate. Can you believe it? Um, that was funny. I learned that from a web designer a couple of years ago. I said, "What is all that white space you put between sections?" Saying it's called real estate. I said, Interesting." So, um, I'll tell you another joke later on, okay? But um, so real estate is where all the money is, where people can build their equity, all right? And investors can leverage their existing properties as well to acquire more properties. So, where do we start? In the real estate landscape, it's so broad. You can be an agent, you can be a broker, you can be servicing a real estate investor, a property manager. They may be from various segmentation of the real estate. You know, they may be from short-term rentals, they also call vacation rentals, multifamily, commercial rentals where they have the triple net, um, lease escalations, and so forth. And then you have the storage units, then you have the HV units, ADU, and the list keeps on going on. So, where do you focus? What is your go-to niche that you want to develop for to help your clients? Or if you're an investor, where you stand in the real estate broad criteria of segmentations. So, what are the key points? The key points are always different depending on each business because that is what defines the service we provide to the client. Each client is unique. How are they unique? If they're using an app, the same workflow and the procedure goes for using the app, right? That's only one part of the puzzle. But the second part of the puzzle is their back office. If you don't learn their ins and outs of their back office, we cannot take the next step of helping our clients, the real estate pros, as I call it. And let's take for an example, one of the clients where Intuit did a case study with me. They had they interviewed me and one of my clients who started with only a couple properties as an investor, and they grew so fast that they depended on their bookkeeper and their CPA to do the taxes. They ended up with paying approximately $150,000 taxes in partnerships, not for the partnerships, but individually. And they said, there's no way because we did not make that much money. So they came to me. So we did a big cleanup and they were flipping. They had a syndication. They had rentals, and they had mixed use property. So what is mixed use is where you have a commercial rental on the bottom, um, on the first floor, and the second floor or third floor, you have residential units that are rented out. So that's mixed use. So eventually, when we came down, they went back. It took us like year and a half to get everything sorted out because it was not only one or two properties. And we were doing this all in QuickBooks. and QuickBooks Desktop. Uh,
Mhm.
and they did not want to spend more money on apps, which we were fine with it as long as we knew what software we are using. And most of the time was spent on learning their backstories, their stories that they were told about each and every property they acquired with their crazy stories and crazy deals. I call it crazy, but it's not literally crazy. It's unique to us when we sit and get on the phone and talk to them.
Right.
If it's all done virtually, if it's all done just by email and by making notes, you don't get the full story. So when we started doing the cleanup job, those stories, the ones I call crazy deals they make, is very important because that's how you show the equity on their balance sheet and their profit and loss. So I will ask Ace Cloud to share that case study that Intuit did for us. But so
Interesting.
what makes it unique, right? It's each industry, along with real estate, is unique because of all the segmentations of the industry in the real estate, right? So, like I mentioned, all this, agents, it's simple. It's like if you're offering a consulting service, it's just a consulting service, right? It's easy. But as they even grow, you need more in-depth reporting. You need
Right.
to tell them what they need to track to see what each sale cost them, what was their bottom line for the sale for each property. So that's very important, right? And with all the examples and what I'm going to be talking, you will find little nuggets everywhere. What is
Hmm.
unique from real estate versus general accounting?
Excellent.
Yeah.
Um, Moving on to our next poll. I know we have a lot to dive into. It would be great to get a sense also of, folks who might have this kind of background. So
Mhm.
wondering if the folks who are attending today, do you primarily work with real estate or property-based clients? So just kind of pick whatever one here applies to you. Again, we realize that some of you might be just very interested in diving into this niche. That's totally okay.
Right.
Answer truthfully here. The majority of your clients are in real estate. No, but only a portion of them are. No,
Mm.
but I'm exploring the niche and not currently, which is fine. This is one of the reasons why we're here. And by the way, keep your own questions coming in. I've got a couple already that in the chat, so we're gonna get to those a bit later. But they're pretty good. So I hope you're ready, Gita. All right, let's
Oh,
find
yes.
out. All right.
I
Excellent.
love
Excellent.
that.
So we
I
got
love
already
that.
got, some colleagues in here. Some
Yeah.
folks, maybe digging in, but they haven't quite, only a portion of their clients. But we have a few folks here already, a majority of their clients
Love
are
it.
in real estate. Excellent. Well, Gita, you have an interesting story too about what attracted you uh,
Hmm.
to it. I don't know if you wanted to spend a minute on that, and I know we have to go into the just kind of, I think it'll help
Right.
flow into how it's changed.
All right. So, how did the landscape change in my world with landing into the real estate niche, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, so I started my business as part-time, as you all know, and eventually a client walked in the door, which was the biggest client at that time, and he was in real estate. He literally forced me, saying, if you don't go to a real estate association meeting with me, then I am going to drop you as my service provider. I'm
Oh
like,
my.
that's not possible. And he knew it, that he was the one of the biggest because I was doing everything part-time. I went in there and I fell in love. Everybody, this was what, 20 years ago, approximately? And
Mm,
everybody gravitated towards me, not just because of my beauty, but because of the service that I provided. And since then, I developed a niche slowly. My first guide, which I wrote for the 2-day session I provided with the computers and bring your own data, was a 10-page guide only. And since then, uh, it's the books are almost 600 pages and more. But going back, that was my little story how I got started, right? I was literally pushed into it. And I thank that client as to this day too, whenever I see him, because he's local. Uh, so
mm.
how is the landscaping changing in the real estate accounting industry, right? That's what we are talking about. And it all varies. Is the accounting different for each type of categories of the property, like multifamily,
Mm.
commercial, storage units? Yes, it is, right? And all those need to be kept track of. Now, when we say 27.5 years, we are talking about depreciation. That's the first thing that comes in mind for us CPAs and accountants and bookkeepers, right? So, what I'm saying is, do you need to know all that? Unless you are a tax preparer or a tax strategist, then yes, you need to know which property is depreciated at what, right? But when it comes to accounting, you need to classify those properties accurately on the balance sheet so the tax preparer or the tax strategist can advise your client accordingly. So that's why I say it is required, right? And a lot of Excel sheets you need to keep in. Sometimes data can be kept in the accounting software or a third-party software that you can pull up the information right away. Now, the metrics that we need to is how we keep track of the data, right? And the data has to be more detailed than what your clients want because as you know, is the same concept as construction industry. We are going to apply the same concept from job costing to unit costing. Mind you, I did not
Right.
say property costing. I'm saying unit costing, right? So that unit costing bundles up to your property, levels up. So it's important to keep track of your net income, your EBITDA, interest before taxes, depreciation. You need to have all those levels of metrics in there. And that's only kind of derived if you keep track of your books the way the client and the tax strategist would help your client to the next step, right? So when it comes to trust accounting, many states in the US have mandated that they have to keep a separate bank account for escrow accounts. Even if your state does not say that, I 100% recommend all my clients to have a separate trust security bank account
Makes
without
sense.
any exceptions. If they say no, then they are not our client. So I have in our business, we have developed a set of rules that if you say no to this, then we cannot help you because we want our job to be simple. And at the end of the day, when the state comes to audit them, they have their numbers accurate, right? So how do we reconcile all these properties? Use, how do we optimize our time in helping the client and saving our time as well, right? So as long as you use the same concept as construction industry, using the items and products and services, the details behind the scenes, that is what is going to help you get your multi-property reconciliation done, quicker and faster.
Right.
So it's very important to keep the details. Now, it also depends on different types of properties on your balance sheet, as well as if you're using QuickBooks, you're going to use classes to track your properties. If you're doing job costing, unit costing, your customers will also be your units and property name. Depending if it's a property management company or if it is a real estate investor's books. So there's a couple distinction in there and variation how we use. Now, when we go to lease variation complexity is, again, that's a commercial property. Now, commercial property categorization has many different categorizations. They could be multifamily, they could be RV units, they are renting storage units, right? But we are talking about commercial property, shopping centers, industrial areas where triple net, double net, and single net escalations, CAM charges, and all those different factors that is around their lease are different all the time, have to be tracked. So again, like I said, you have to know the back office, right? Not only, hey, money came in, this is your rent, and you move on. You need to learn a little bit about the lease. You have to read it. You have to get a grasp. From the leases, you create a lease abstract, and from that, you do the reconciliation, which literally we have a client with 10 properties and 200 tenants, and we do the lease and escalations, rent escalations, CAM reconciliations, all within 1 hour at the end of the year. The only reason is because we have our workflows, we have our processes, we have the lease abstract, we have everything down to the pack. So when it comes, we can get this done from A to Z really quickly. And it's so much easier when we use QuickBooks Desktop. We can get all the information really fast, right?
Now, is that enterprise or just QBD?
No, enterprise. So
Enterprise.
we
Okay.
rarely
I just
use,
wanted to clarify that for everyone.
yeah.
Okay.
QBD, Pro and Premier, we don't use that much more with clients. There are a few clients with the older version, 2022, where they don't have to subscribe for it,
Oh,
pay subscription, but
sure.
they can still use it. So we are using them, but we are slowly switching everybody to QuickBooks Enterprise because it's so much easier and
Yeah.
faster, and
Yeah, and I know we're going to get to that in a little bit. We're going to get into the
right.
enterprise, some of the things that you're able to utilize in your particular your niche here.
Yes, definitely, definitely. And with all this complexity, all
Mm,
this data, that learning, onboarding, from onboarding to process to workflows and everything, you have to have a team. And without the
yeah.
team, you cannot work, right? So our teams have like 4 or 5 tiers of clientele. So we have a couple account managers, we have a couple, assistant account managers, and the chain goes down. So we offer outsourced real estate accounting and bookkeeping services to other CPAs and accountants as well. But the teams have to be trained, right? And the only way we found we could train them is by creating the processes and checklist, right? And we found even with our clients' in-house teams, what lacked, along with which we improved in our team, was accountability. If you don't have that accountability of each of your team members, you are going to lose that deliverables to your clients. And with doing all this at the same time, your books, your clients' books are going to be audit ready anytime.
Right. All right. Moving on, we definitely want to get to, you mentioned, some of the challenges that real estate, professionals and or just in real estate accounting in particular. So we've got another poll that's going to talk about that. What is your biggest challenge today? A lot of you obviously, are doing real estate accounting at some level, so this definitely applies to you. Multi-entity, multi-property reporting. I know there's definitely a question that came in about that. Lease rent and tenant billing complexity, compliance audit, documentation requirements, collaboration across remote teams. Gita had mentioned that you definitely need teams
Yeah.
to be doing this, and data security, controlled access. Wow, these are some pretty big challenges. You could probably even click all of the above, but we want to see which one of these stands out the most to our attendees here today. I'll give you a
If
couple more
you
seconds.
answer, I have a tip
Mm.
for that. If
Oh
you
yeah.
answer getting documentations from your clients and onboarding, what we implemented a couple years ago was charging our clients late documentation fee.
Oh wow. All right, let's
Some
see what the
clients
results
have,
are here, and then
Mhm.
Sorry, Gita.
That's
We'll definitely get to that. All right, let's see what everyone said. Da-da-da. All right, a pretty good mix of
yeah.
issues, although
Mhm.
nobody with data security and controlled access. That's good.
Yeah.
It's a tough one to have, but yeah, I mean it's kind of across the board there, Gita. Sorry, I just wanted to, to wrap up the polls, but this is definitely a good talking point as well. But you were
Right.
saying,
So I was saying
no.
is
Yeah.
documentations, right?
Hmm.
Getting the documents. We implemented a couple of years ago a late fee documentation fee to our clients. So after we onboarded them, we send them an email. We also have it in our agreement, and we send them an email. We'll send you two reminders. If you do not respond to everything that we need that two reminders, then we are going to charge your account for X amount of dollars. Now, depending on the client, sometimes we charge weekly, sometimes we charge monthly. So it's set. So depending on the type of client they have, how much heavy lifting we are doing, right? So it may be weekly or monthly, but we just send them two notices by email. And the third one, when it's time, we just bill them. And that has gotten them to work, because of course, real estate is money. Nobody likes to lose that. So going into the need for AI.
Oh yeah, there's definitely a couple of people had quite specific questions about that. If you don't get those answered, we can kind of go into the specifics. But I know we've worded in a couple of ways. We had
Mhm.
a couple of attendees ask, about AI adoption differing between large real estate firms and small property managers, and somebody just generally curious, how is AI being leveraged for real estate accounting? So here we
Oh,
go.
wow.
Yeah,
Well, uh,
the
AI
fifty
is
fifty million dollar question of the day. Yeah.
I say hey, AI does hallucinate. I cannot pronounce it right. Help me out. Hallucinate
It
many times.
hallucinates.
Yeah.
At the moment, it's still learning. It
Yes.
is, but it's
Mm-hmm.
eager. It's eager to learn, and that's a good thing. But
Eager to learn.
sorry.
Right. Now that's okay. I was just thinking of the right word to say today, and I thought this was the right word because
Oh, it is. It is.
we still need manual human intervention.
100.
Okay. Without that, you cannot go to the next step. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter from writing a social media post or back office work or anything. So in the accounting field, what we do is one, we really love what we do in our for our clients is we pull up a detailed report with everything on to Excel. We upload that report to ChatGPT or Perplexity or whichever one we are using. Um, and we tell it to analyze the data for us. And it has found errors for us that we did not classify something to the right unit. So that is very important because in the memo, clients write the unit name, right? When we bring in the data, we write the right unit name, but sometimes tag it to the wrong unit as a class or a property, right? So it has uh, pulled out so many instances. So we go back 2 years at the end of the year. Every quarter, as a matter of fact, we go back and pull up data for the last 2 years or 24 months. And we tell it to compare the vendor name by the item name or the products and services, right?
Hmm.
And it tells us, gives us the variations. Well, it was not right. This was added and this was not. So it helps our team rather than visually look at each and every line item, it pulls up the data and we love it. And you can do that the same thing with the pivot, right? Excel, you can download it in Excel and pivot it. But what happens is with AI, you can upload it and let it do its magic. In that time, you can do something else. So we are
Right.
leveraging the time as well.
Yeah.
At
So
the same,
automation is
yep,
definitely, the automation factors,
yep,
but there's other things, like you said, it can suffer from some hallucinations.
right,
It's true. It's true.
yep,
You know, Gita, we have if we want to know a little bit more from our audience where they're at with AI,
definitely.
we do have a specifically designed poll question
Oh my God, go for
just
it.
for this. So, Porby, if you would not mind, that'd be great
Yeah,
to find out. So, very simply, are you currently using AI in your accounting processes in some way? Yes, very actively. Yeah, we're testing out some tools right now. Seems to be where a lot of folks are at, but some of them are taking a deeper dive. Um, Planning on exploring? Okay, that's good. You're kind of weighing things out, and nope,
right.
not using any AI yet. You may be,
Mm,
and you might not even know it. But in terms of, the tools that are out there,
right.
you know, so let's
So
get
what I
let's
would
get it.
say is, yeah, let's look at the results. Oh,
Yeah.
perfect. Perfect.
See, look at that. You have some folks who are very actively using it, and then
Mm,
folks who are just kind of testing them out. That seems to be where a lot of folks are at. I've found just in my own research, in talking to, accountants regularly as I do, is it's the levels do vary, but they are diving in some
yeah,
way, shape, or form. And the folks who kind of dove in early are now really looking for some ROI. And somebody had a question about, trusting AI tools with sensitive data. It Much like accounting questions in general, it depends.
yeah,
I wouldn't
yeah,
be going and putting things in there that you might not want publicly shared, like
yeah,
financial data, perhaps, things
right.
that, but by and large, and some of the more advanced tools that I'm seeing too, particularly with agentive AI, they're
Mm,
kind of in their own bubble. It's not going out into the
right.
world necessarily, but definitely be um, very conscious of the things you're asking it to do. That's just
The
in my
one
view.
thing,
But
right.
Gita, yes, you're using it, so
I'm using it not 100%. We are testing, we
sure.
are always, but one thing that I really we were working on 2 weeks ago was bringing the actual data versus budget versus forecasting. And
Hmm.
that's still work in progress for two of our clients that they wanted that report. I'm like, let's try AI and see where it can go rather than doing it manually, right? So,
Yeah.
but
Some folks are just seeing what Chatty or ChatGPT,
right. And
can come
using
up
an
with.
accounting software has its own built-in AI. Just for
Oh
example,
yeah,
if you're using QuickBooks, right?
sure.
You go to the
It's
bank
there,
reconciliation. It's right there.
right there.
Yeah, it's right there. Even with the FreshBooks, if you go with, they have AI built in their bank reconciliation. I mean, there are zeros, so you
I
can go.
Yeah.
It's all the software are using it, but you need a human eye. It doesn't matter how large the property portfolios are, or how large the clients are, or how many units or properties the client is managing or holding, right? Acquiring or selling. Because it all depends. If you start with a small client and nail down what you like, and then apply to your bigger clients, there is a plus to it. Now, how do we keep that in mind? It's not only saying, okay, today I'm going to use ChatGPT and it's going to
Right.
work for me, right? No. Every month or every 2, 3 weeks, you have to go and look what other AIs are out there that is going to help you, your team, and your clients, right? It's not only one thing. You have to keep up with the industry. You have to keep up with real estate accounting. You need to keep up with AI. You need to keep up with softwares. It's not only one thing that
So
helps you.
where
It's
where is it in your practice? I think some folks, the folks here are probably kind of wondering that as well. Like, all right, Gita, you have the successful real estate practice. Where is it working for you?
we are at,
What's it
I
helping
would
you do?
say, 30% right now.
Okay.
Um,
What's it helping
and
you do?
it's helping us classify transactions, finding out errors that we are making. That's my biggest thing. I want to reduce the time for my team where they're doing manual work. That is my
Right.
first goal, right? So we used AI for this team. They give us Google Sheets. We have like 10 or 20 Google Sheets, depending on that
Hmm.
client. And we take the Google Sheets, we put it in, we give them our information, what we want the output to be. We tell it to compare the columns and everything, and then give us an output, right? So then we can bring that, import it into QuickBooks. So that the output, we are trying to reduce the manual data entry.
Yeah.
Even though they have multiple entities, they have multiple properties in that single one data file. So how can we optimize that, right? So that's where we are. Now we talked about data exposure, and that is if you do not give them your information like EIN number, social security, your company name, your address, you can avoid
Super sensitive
that.
stuff.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And that's important, right? If you don't give them that, then you're not exposing yourself as much. But remember, whatever you put in AI, whatever you put on Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, somebody is out there collecting your data. So use it wisely. Put the
That's just true.
right amount of data only that you want to be exposed of, right?
Yeah.
And
And our host here today too is very familiar with, keeping data
they do.
secure and safe.
Yep.
But yeah, these use cases, Gita, whether it's real estate accounting or any particular area of work that accountants are in, this is really what's going to decide AI's role in accounting
Yes.
overall, how much it's used, where it's successful, where it still needs work, and it's still very early days, everyone.
Yes.
But
Definitely.
but more of these use cases like you're explaining, I think are important. But sorry, anything to add particularly on AI? I know we have a couple other things to
No,
get to
because
today in our discussion.
no, if you have any questions from the,
Oh yeah,
attendees, I would definitely would love to answer them,
yeah, yeah.
because
Okay, so yeah, we're
we can talk
got
about
some
this
other
all
things to
day.
get to. Absolutely, absolutely. So
Right.
the tech stack portion of our discussion, very,
Mm.
very important as much as AI.
Uh,
Let's discuss right here. This seems to be
so
what works for you.
right. So I'm still a firm believer of QuickBooks Desktop. Don't get me wrong. We still use QuickBooks Online because of our clients, um, which is one of the best right now. If you sit and compare Zoho, the lower end, Zoho, Zero, FreshBooks, other ones, QuickBooks is still one of the best that I have found because of my real estate niche, right? It gives me everything that I need in QuickBooks. I've
Hmm.
tried many other softwares, but it's not what I need for my clients. So I've stuck with QuickBooks right now, even though we have clients who have individual LLC and needs a separate accounting file for each LLC, right? When it comes to multiple entities. And then you can go with the lower end because there's only one property and there is only one or two bank accounts. So, it's easy that way. Um, Now, QuickBooks Enterprise, I have my clients on hosting. That's the only way we service them. There are a few
Hmm.
others who have servers in their office, but we have been showing them how much it's going to cost them in the coming years with support and everything. So they're looking into it. Uh, but along with QuickBooks, without uh, the accounting software and without the workflow, processes, project management, we cannot accomplish anything we are going to talk about today. A to Z, right? Because it starts from onboarding, our processes, projects. We use ClickUp. I have used couple. Uh, I'm not there to switch yet, but eventually in a couple years down the road, I will have to go to the next level and move upwards and let ClickUp go. But the customer facing, whatever it is, has to be very simple. And besides any software tech stack I use, the support has to be A1. If there's no support, if I cannot pick up the phone, or if I even send them an email, if I don't get a response in a couple hours, then it's I don't like that software for some reason.
Yeah, most
But
accountants they just if they've got a problem, they need an
exactly.
answer. They don't
And
have time.
exactly. And for our clients, when we give them a task, a question is a task, period.
Hmm.
And we tell them you have to respond within 1 or 2 days. We don't have a due date for you. You have to respond, period. And that goes on because all this project management processes, workflow we create tends to help us design our accounting team for them, right? So for the expense and spend management, we use RAM for reimbursements and Expensify for employee reimbursements is really helpful. It integrates with QuickBooks. And Accounts Makers Hub is where you need user roles for the accounts payables. It's a very detailed. I can create rules in there. It's kind of AI in the back end, all this, because as you put rules, you're creating your own AI if you look at it, right? You're building that concept in your head and you're implementing it in a software that is automation in the end anyway. That's what AI does also in a different way. And the same thing goes with accounts receivables. So if you have accounts payables, you have accounts receivables. And I love bill and pay. They have been there for the longest time for accounts receivables. They have a portal. Bill.com has accounts payables and accounts receivables all built in one. Anchor is perfect for if you have an agreement to be signed, you can get that signed, and they accept payments as well, so accounts receivable. So you can create subscriptions on that. But what we have found lately, I was once upon a time, I was certified in Method CRM that integrates with QuickBooks Desktop, and it has everything in it except for accounts payables that I don't like. But they have out of the box, and then you have to customize everything. So we have done that with couple property management companies for their lease abstract and escalations and CAM reconciliations. So it has worked out really great. And of course, if we are using enterprise, it's going on ACE cloud hosting. That's our
Right.
go-to. Like I said, for me, support is very important. If I don't get a response, I'm very agitated.
Hmm.
Um, because we cannot go on to the next client or the next task we have to accomplish for that client. And
Yeah.
property management software, where do I start? Each industry, each segmentation of real estate has its own tech stack.
Hmm.
Okay. Now, for this is multifamilies, Appfolio, Buildum, and Yardi is a go, right? For long-term rentals, right? For short-term rentals, it's Streamline, right? For all different segmentations, brokers have their own tech stack. And everybody you see in that segmentation has different tax stacks. So these are the main ones for multifamily, right? And
Hmm.
then it depends on the client's budget also. If they are a large client, they don't consider it as a budget. They consider how can it save time? How can we automate? That is the key at the end of the day.
Right.
So one client for vacation rentals we have, it took them 6 years to get it in them that they need to automate things. Um, After 6 years, we started implementing SOS inventory. We went to Breezeway, we went to other softwares as well, and they downsized their employees also by 3 people. And that was good 150 grand a year savings. Uh, that was gross pay. All right. Forget the benefits are going to add up. So it's going to be 200,000 eventually. Right. So that's what we look at, select the industry, know their back office, know what they need, and then pick the right tech stack that fits them and not what you
Excellent.
want to offer them. And that's the key, right?
So you'd mentioned QuickBooks Enterprise,
Mhm.
particularly as a pretty big one for you,
Mhm.
solving a lot of the challenges of modern real estate accounting. And somebody did also have a question about, the Enterprise Suite that is been coming out. So I don't know if you could work that into this part of the discussion.
Definitely, definitely. So we're going to talk about enterprise, QuickBooks Online and desktop. It's very similar, but there are still huge differences, right?
Right.
Now, in in both the versions, you can keep track of multi uh, entities level software. So, I mean, QuickBooks files, right? You can track your income, expenses, you can bring out your reports, you can customize more. When you go to the enterprise level, you can customize your own reports right within the software. And that's where you have the upper hand, right? And as you go into the upper levels of versions, you have more tracking. For example, one of the clients has class tracking, location tracking, and custom field tracking, where we do department wise. We give them a profit and loss and cash flow by department. So, not all clients will be the ideal one for the enterprise level, for the IES on the online version, or the QuickBooks Enterprise. But back again, once we start working, get their back office ready, get their bookkeeping done, become the controller, we need to go to the next level. How can we make them profitable? And one of the other clients, once we started giving the profitability by unit that they were managing, a property management company, they let go
Hmm.
of 50 of their units because it was never going to be profitable.
Wow.
And that's what we need because that 50, they were going negative every time, every month on those 50 units. They were losing money, saying, I said, you got to let that go. It doesn't matter. The number of units you're managing does not matter. Your bottom line matters.
Yeah.
Uh, and that performance visibility can only be done of what I discussed earlier on how to bring in the details. Now, QuickBooks Enterprise, remember, when our clients are using our tech stack, other property management softwares, and then we are using QuickBooks, right? Now we call it corporate accounting. But you know what? You have to learn to incorporate what they're doing in the property management software and in your corporate accounting to get your profitability. If you
Right.
can't, then that's a missing link that we all can support our clients to grow.
Excellent.
Um, Now, if you want to use QuickBooks Enterprise alone for accounting, can you do it? Yes, you can do it. How can we do it? Because you may come and say, well, QuickBooks is charging us $10 per transaction for receiving payment, or you're going to come up with many other excuses, right? I'm going to call it excuses. But at the end of the day, spending that $10 for one tenant for receiving money is peanuts compared to what you're automating and how much you're showing them the profitability by unit,
Right.
right? That's just part of business. And is it our, when do we show that value to our client? We can't show them the value when you're doing bookkeeping only.
Right.
Because you don't have that kind of conversations. So you have to make sure that you build your services accordingly, not build from bookkeeping to the next level up
Right.
slowly. But it doesn't have to be overnight, but you can do it, you know?
So you're using, QuickBooks Enterprise in, cloud hosted,
Mhm.
environment, and we do have our final poll question around that, which we'd
Mhm.
like to launch, and hopefully get to at least a couple of your questions. They've been really great, and we can maybe share them with Gita afterwards as well. Maybe she could contact you all. But want to get to our final poll question on, kind of being in the hosting environment. So if we could launch that. Um, So I know that this is kind of how you've been working. Great. So how are you all currently accessing your accounting systems? So is it only from the office computer? Hopefully not. Uh, remote into the office computer, in a cloud and hosted setup, so you can kind of access anywhere. A mix of methods, or gosh, I'm just not sure. Hopefully not. Hopefully you have a pretty good sense of how you're accessing your accounting system. So if all of you can just take a couple moments to answer the choice that applies to you, and then I think we can probably get to a couple of questions before the top of the hour here.
It's a transition. It's a
Oh,
transition when
no
you
doubt.
go
No
to
doubt.
cloud.
Yeah.
It is a transition.
Yep. Well, here we are. We got most of the folks here are kind of only doing it from their office computer. Okay. I mean, that's definitely a choice, and one that I know that folks like Ace Cloud would probably want to have a conversation with you on the
Definitely.
fact that maybe you don't have to. Then some of the folks here remoting into an office computer, or they're in a
Come
mix
on.
of a cloud and hosted environment. Gita, yourself, you're in the hosted environment.
I'm mixed. I'm
You're
mixed.
mixed. You're mixed.
I am
Hmm.
mixed, but just a tip, if you are working from your computer, make sure you have a backup service. I use Carbonite. It
Thousand
backs up
percent.
every minute, or you can set up your settings. I change your preferences on when you want the computer to be backed up. And it has saved me my life years and years ago. I would
Now,
have lost all my clients' data if I was not backing it up.
so Gita, a question came in that hopefully you can answer. Do you see
Mhm.
more real estate firms moving towards like hosted environments instead of local servers? If
Yes,
so, why? What, anything behind
it
that?
depends. It depends, right?
Depends.
So it
Sure, sure.
depends on the size of the firm,
Hmm.
right? So we have couple local clients, property management companies, and investors as well. Investors turned property management company. They have a server in-house, and they hired an IT person in-house and who multitask on doing other things also. So for them, that is beneficial, right? They want that secured. And it's me also not educating them too much, because once they said, no, there's no way we're going to do this in our lifetime, right? So you just back off and worry about what's important to them then.
Hmm.
But eventually, I think it's going to go away, IT, because the cost of the computers, hardware's upgrading. And the thing of it is the technology is changing every single day. If it's
Hmm.
not for one app, it's for another software. It's not for the software, it's for your computers. And where are you going to get the bandwidth on your computer?
Yeah.
So I'm on my
So
last laptop, and once that's done, I'm 100% in the cloud.
wonderful. Hey, do you know of any particular, back to the AI issue, are you, getting kind of well versed in, AI powered platforms specifically for property level accounting or financial automation?
You know, uh,
Dabbling in any of that yet? Not quite.
a little bit here and there, nothing to write home about yet that I have
Nothing. Okay.
found. Like I
Early
said,
days.
yeah, early days. Yeah. Our main purpose is getting that manual work reduced for checking their reports every month and at the end of the year. That takes up a lot of time.
And finally, Gita, well, we might be able to get one or two more questions in, and thank you all for being so patient. Multi-entity consolidation, really painful. Any recommendations for that?
Enterprise desktop version and online version has that. If
Hmm.
you don't use that, there's an app for Phantom does it, and a couple other apps, reporting apps, also uh, helps you develop that multi-unit reporting.
Yeah. I've also heard of Soft Ledger too, does that as
Yeah.
well. It's
Yeah, there
another
are multiple out there.
for
Yeah.
multi-entity. Yeah.
Yep.
And you know, if do you convert like a QBO file to enterprise? Is that possible?
Oh,
Going
yes,
from QBO to
definitely.
enterprise?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me know. Let's get in touch. Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jason, you heard her. Definitely get in touch with Gita. Finally, it is offer time, people. Want to get to, you've stuck around with us. Thank you so much. I'm sorry if we didn't get to every single question. Hopefully we hit most of them. But you could probably reach out to Gita directly if that's something that people can do for you. But we have a special offer for you from our hosts, Ace Cloud Hosting. Move forward, take next steps. 19 $19 dollars and 50 cents per user per month for 3 months. Scan the QR code or 20% off on managed security, which sounds like some of you who are still working on an office computer, you might want to consider. Just saying, just saying. I know Ace is our host here, but just in general, we're what are we? In the second quarter of the 21st century. Security, we understand, is a extreme priority. You want to know that you're in the most secure environment possible.
Yeah.
Um, definitely in the chat here, we have for attendees, just kind of scan the links or click on the links. You will definitely get to those offers. Finally, Gita, final question for you. A lot of books on Amazon from you. Do you have a favorite or a recommendation for other accountants?
So, oh,
Feel
all of
free,
my
promote
favorites,
yourself.
I wrote them. Come on,
They're
guys.
they're your babies. I know you got to choose.
Yes. So, uh, what I would start with, which type of client segmentation of real estate industry you're delving in,
Hmm.
right? If you're saying you're going for brokers, then get the broker book, right? If you're going for multifamily and you're saying, okay, I don't know where I'm going right now, right? I may go into commercial, I may go into multifamily. So at that point, I would say go with the commercial because you can take that guide and you can dumb it down and not use some of the features that I have shared with you guys. You don't have to. And then you can convert that into multifamily. Sorry.
Wonderful. So, Gita, can our attendees reach out to you at all? And if so, what's the best way?
Sure. Anytime. You can find me everywhere, Gita Faust. Just Google it. There's only one in the world so far that I know. I'm proud of
Woo!
that, though. Yes,
That's
happy
great.
colors up.
Yeah.
Um, Number is 215-579-1465.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I think somebody will have to type in my email address for them. It's Gita, Gita, at realestateaccounting.com. You can shoot me an email or visit my website. Oh, better yet, scan the QR code. It'll take you right to my website.
There we go.
Why did I think about it?
Well, Gita, it has been a true pleasure. I love your story. I
Thank
love your
you.
journey. I love what you're doing in accounting these days. Thank you to Ace Cloud today.
Thank you.
Hopefully, and there is going to be a recording of this as well, but hopefully you all got something, a little something out of today. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to be with us. Um,
Thank you.
thank you. Enjoy
Appreciate
the
it.
rest of your day. Be healthy, be productive, and yeah, thanks so much. Take care, everyone.
You too. Bye bye.